Hello everyone, tonight we step into the chilling tale of the silent playground, a forgotten place that stands as a monument to innocence lost and echoes that refuse to die. A playground built at the edge of a quiet town in the early 1900s where children once gathered to swing, to laugh, to chase each other through the grass, their voices carrying on the wind. A place meant to be filled with joy, but instead destined to be scarred by sorrow. And as the decades passed, stories began to spread about what really lingered there after dark. Whispers of tragedies, of vanished children, of swings that moved when no breeze was blowing, of laughter that rang out long after midnight when the earth itself should have been silent, because the soil beneath the sand had absorbed more than the footprints of tiny feet. It had absorbed pain, fear, and the energy of lives cut far too short, and so Silent Playground became more than a place. It became a legend, one that continues to terrify anyone brave or foolish enough to step through its gates after midnight. For once you hear the laughter, they say, the children notice you, and once they notice you, you can never truly escape. The earliest accounts go back to 1912, when the town first constructed the playground beside the woods. A bright place with new swings, a seesaw, a metal merry-go-round, and a tall slide that gleamed in the sun. But within the very first year, a terrible accident occurred when a child fell from top of the slide, breaking his neck instantly, and the town mourned, yet the playground remained open, and soon other accidents followed. An iron chain snapping, a child crushed beneath the seesaw, another vanishing without a trace while playing hide and seek. And though each incident was explained away as chance or carelessness, people began to whisper that something about the place was wrong, that perhaps the land itself was cursed, for it had once been a burial ground long before the town ever existed. Local records reveal that in the mid-1800s, a smallpox epidemic swept through the region, killing dozens of children who were buried hastily in mass graves just beyond the woods, graves unmarked, forgotten, and later built over when the town expanded, and though officials denied it, elders insisted that the playground stood atop the resting place of those lost souls, disturbed and angry. Witnesses in the 1920s told of hearing laughter in the distance long after dusk, when the last of the living children had gone home, a sound described as playful at first but turning shrill, almost mocking, as if unseen voices were calling out to anyone nearby, daring them to enter, and a few who did claimed to see shadows darting between the swings. Small silhouettes with glowing eyes that vanished when approached. One chilling story tells of a night watchman who patrolled the area. He reported seeing the merry-go-round spin slowly in the moonlight, picking up speed though no wind blew, and as he approached, he swore he saw tiny handprints appear in the dust on its surface, as if dozens of unseen children were clinging to it, laughing in whispers that seemed to crawl into his ears, driving him nearly mad until he fled, never to return. Over the decades, the silent playground became a dare for teenagers, a place to prove courage, to show they could withstand the whispers of the dead. But those who stayed too long often came back changed, eyes hollow, faces pale, refusing to speak of what they saw, though neighbors claimed they were followed home by faint giggles and the sound of chains rattling as though a swing were moving just behind them. Some accounts even speak of possessions, of young visitors who returned home only to behave oddly, laughing at strange hours, staring out windows as if waiting for something unseen, murmuring words no one could understand, their voices layered with an echo not their own. In 1956, an entire group of 3 teenagers disappeared after sneaking into the playground at midnight. Their bikes were found leaning against the fence, the gate slightly ajar, but no sign of the youths was ever discovered, not even footprints in the dirt beyond, as if they had stepped through the threshold of the playground and simply ceased to exist. Parents forbade their children from going near the site, yet curiosity remained, and researchers from a nearby university conducted investigations in the 1970s, setting up cameras and audio recorders overnight. The footage revealed nothing at first, but the tapes told a different story, hours of faint giggling, the creak of swings, and, most disturbingly, the recorded voices of children calling out names, including the names of the very researchers who had never spoken them aloud. One tape captured a lullaby hummed softly, a tune that no one on the team recognized, but when played for the town's oldest residents, they identified it as a song sung to sick children during the smallpox epidemic a century earlier, a song meant to soothe the dying. The investigators left shaken, some refusing to speak of what they heard again, others claiming they were followed by strange activity at home, toys moving on their own, the sound of marbles rolling across wooden floors at night, faint laughter in the corners of their rooms. Locals say the playground's curse does not end at its boundary. Once you step inside, the children know your name, and once they know you, they can visit you anywhere. By the 1990s, the playground had fallen into disrepair, its paint chipped, its slide rusted, the swings sagging, chains squealing when moved by even the lightest breeze, yet the legends only grew stronger. A man named Robert, a skeptic who dismissed the stories as childish nonsense, decided to prove his bravery by spending a full night within the playground. He entered at midnight with a flashlight and a camcorder, determined to document the emptiness. Hours later, his flashlight was found shattered near the swings, his camera abandoned by the merry-go-round, its final footage showing Robert laughing nervously before his face twisted into terror, his eyes darting towards something unseen, his breath quickening as he whispered "They're here." And then the tape ended abruptly, static filling the screen. Robert was never seen again. To this day, his family mourns without closure, convinced the playground claimed him as it had claimed so many before. Paranormal investigators have since visited, capturing electromagnetic spikes, cold spots that drop temperatures to near freezing, and even faint figures appearing in thermal imaging, small, child-sized shapes gathered near the slide and swings, vanishing the moment approached. Some visitors claim to hear their own names called in sing-song voices. Others feel a tug at their clothing as though tiny hands were pulling them back toward the equipment, desperate not to let them leave. The most terrifying stories tell of those who heard laughter not just at the playground, but later in their own homes, late at night, always at the same hour they had entered the playground, as if the children had followed them back, unseen guests who refused to leave. One woman, who only stepped inside for a brief moment, later reported hearing the sound of a swing creaking in her bedroom, though nothing was there, and when she turned to the mirror, she swore she saw a small face peering over her shoulder, smiling with hollow eyes. She moved out of her house within weeks, abandoning everything, convinced the playground's children had marked her. Skeptics continue to dismiss the tales as superstition, yet the stories grow with every passing decade, and the silent playground remains a place no sane parent allows their child to visit, though the gate still stands, rusted but open, as if waiting for the next soul curious enough to enter. They say the laughter is loudest on nights when the moon is full, when the shadows are long and the air is still, and those who hear it can never forget the sound. It is playful, innocent, but beneath it lurks something hollow, something ancient, a reminder that not all children rest in peace, and some playgrounds were never meant for the living, and so the legend of the silent playground grew darker as the new millennium arrived, with fresh encounters from locals who swore the spirits had grown bolder, no longer content to linger at the edge of vision, but daring to step closer, to touch, to reveal themselves in fleeting glimpses that left witnesses trembling, like the story of a man driving past the playground at 2 a.m., who saw a group of children swinging joyfully, their small legs kicking in unison, and he slowed in disbelief, wondering why children would be out so late. But when his headlights illuminated them fully, he saw their faces pale, hollow-eyed, their mouths moving in wide grins without sound, and He blinked, they vanished all at once, the swings still moving as though invisible bodies remained, and he drove away shaking, never speaking of it again until his hair turned gray, and he felt death drawing near, only then confessing what he had seen, his hands trembling as he described the hollow faces that haunted his dreams for decades. Another tale tells of a paranormal team who entered the playground with the latest equipment, boasting online that they would spend the entire night live, streaming, but halfway through their broadcast the camera shook violently, the sound of children's laughter piercing through the static, and one by one the investigators screamed and ran, leaving their equipment behind, the footage ending with a child's whisper directly into the microphone, a whisper that said, "Stay with us." Before cutting to black, the team later refused to speak publicly, some leaving the field of ghost hunting altogether, convinced they had crossed into something far beyond what they were prepared for. The deeper you explore, the more terrifying the testimonies become, parents reporting their toddlers waking at exactly 3 a.m., laughing in voices that were not their own, muttering about friends from the swings. Children drawing pictures of playgrounds they had never seen, describing structures matching perfectly the rusting slide and merry-go round of the silent playground, as if some invisible connection had been forged, a bridge between the living and the restless dead. Folklorists argue that the reason this legend has endured so powerfully is because it is rooted in universal fear, the corruption of innocence, the twisting of joy into horror, because a playground should be safe, a place of laughter and sunlight, but at midnight, under the eyes of the dead, it becomes the opposite, a reminder that happiness can rot, that laughter can echo even when no living lungs breathe it. And yet there are those who still go, thrill seekers, skeptics, drawn by the dare, and some return pale and silent while others are never seen again. Their last known words often describing how they heard children calling their names in the dark, inviting them to play, and once they answered, once they responded, their voices were never heard again in this world. The silent playground, they say, is not abandoned. It is alive, fed by the fear and curiosity of those who enter. Each new visitor another story to be absorbed, another soul for the children to notice. And if you stand very still in the dead of night, some claim you can hear them whispering right behind you, their breath cold, their giggles soft, asking, begging, demanding that you play with them forever. And if you make the mistake of turning around, if you dare to look, you may see them, small figures with wide smiles, arms outstretched, eyes as black as the void, waiting for you to join their endless games. So I leave you with this warning: if you ever find yourself walking near a forgotten playground at night, and you hear laughter where no living child should be, do not enter, do not answer, and above all, do not let them notice you, for once they do, the children of the silent playground will never let you go. Thank you for watching Shdows Secrit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the shadows.